I once asked my friend, what is the saddest thing in life? And he told me it's not one, but two things. One thing is the look in a mother's face when she cannot feed her children. The second is when her child is not able to find a job and is really ashamed about it when he grows up. This kind of made a profound impact on me, and that's one of the areas that I will be speaking of a lot today. I also believe that's one of the reasons a lot of people have assembled here today. There have been a lot of discussion on why jobs are not important, why new ideas have to be generated, why creativity is important. But let's get honest, there is one zero. There are 6,099,999,999 people who have to live a life. And for them, job is important. And how do you exactly go ahead and find that job? How many people are suffering because of it? Let's go ahead and have a review. Before I get started, I'll introduce you all to three very special cases. Imagine you are a traffic police. You all must have seen a traffic police, right? All day long, 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours on the road, very heavy traffic noise, a lot of pollution. This guy just keeps giving signs. No one talks to him. He gets naturally irritated. After going home, maybe he gets drunk. Sometimes beats up his wife. Why? Because he's just irritated by the traffic noise and he doesn't want her noise now. Obviously, she doesn't sound like there is instant beatboxing. So he goes ahead and beatboxing. So what happens is, there's a lot of noise that the traffic police has to face. If any electrical engineers here? So if you find a job in NTPC, BH here, be ready for that motor, rotor sound. And it's just going to kill you out just with the noise. If you work inside a steam engine, my dad works for railways. If you work inside a steam engine, you know what kind of noise it is, right? But imagine there are 1 million people living in our country doing these kinds of jobs. But what if a person cannot hear? If a person is born with a physical disability which makes him or prevents him from hearing, this job is heaven for him. Why? He goes into the traffic and just dances. Okay, he goes into a steam engine and just enjoys. And in BHL he smiles with a service. Let's look at another case. This is a spa. A lot of people in India want to go to a spa, get a nice massage, okay, preferably from a lady. But then the big problem is, now I don't want to expose in front of a stranger. Now what happens if that person cannot see? The entire India will go to the spa. Okay? Now let's look at another kind of a job. A job where there are these ice cream bunnies at 11 o'clock in the night. You know, whenever you go to a second show and come back, there are these quality walls ice cream bunnies. This guy sits for 2 hours so that you come one day randomly and eat an ice cream for 40 rupees. Okay, for that one ice cream, he has to spend 2 hours, and God forbid he moves away for 20 minutes and you go away, it's a loss. Okay, there are jobs like data entry. There are jobs where medicines are manufactured in a manufacturing line, and that job requires you to sit at a place and monitor cleanliness and be clean yourself without ever moving. But human tendency requires us to move. So what happens? What if a person can never move? What if it is a natural advantage for a person with disability that he cannot move? Friends, brothers and sisters, welcome to a world where I have worked on a research for jobs for persons with disabilities where disability is a natural advantage. Why did I pick up this? Because I am disabled myself. There are 4 crore people in India who are disabled. Only 40,000 of them have jobs. 90% of them don't go to schools, and rest of them hide in their houses. So I went ahead and with a team of my friends in I.S.B. started building a system where I can generate jobs for persons with disabilities. Now so I formed a problem statement. The problem statement is to build a system. It's not to find a job for 1 or 2 people. It's to build a system through which thousands and thousands of people can go ahead and get employed. Now who are the players in this system? Physically challenged people, PWD as we call in the later presentation, NGOs, government, companies. You will see what amazing jokes happen in this entire system. What is the aim? The aim is to generate a working model. What is the approach? The approach is to first study history of disability in India, study the existing system, what the players do, what are the limitations, and then come out with a solution. Now before I go ahead, let's take a small test. Okay? You all have seen me. What is the right way to address or call me? Option A disabled person. How many of you say option A is right? Option B, handicapped person. Option C, person with disability. Option D, a physically challenged person. Yeah? Man, I have given the answer on the slide. Okay, in spite of such a good introduction on TV, where she talks of my name 1,000 times, okay, people want to go ahead and find a new way to define me. They call me a person with disability or physically challenged person. Why? Because disabled is insensitive, handicapped is insensitive, but physically challenged, it's good. It's like, calling a person who is single romantically challenged or a beggar as financially challenged. What difference is it going to make? You're not going to give him a single rupee, but yet you will call him a person with financial challenges. Imagine go to a traffic signal, beggar comes and asks 2 rupees, hey, you're a person with financial challenge, let me go ahead and donate 2 rupees to you. So, why is this happening? Why is that in our nature, it has become very intuitive for us to go ahead and look at people with disabilities as a sympathy. One blame is for religion, law, karma. Now, it's funny, karma says, whatever you do, you will suffer. That's for bad things. Whatever good things you do, you should never expect result. That's what the Bhagavad Gita says, which is funny because it states that I get results for bad things, but for good things I don't get. Unfortunately, that's one thing. Second thing that I see as a problem with the law of karma is polio has been eradicated in our country. The last 2 months we have been following news, polio has been eradicated. Does that mean people have stopped doing bad karma? I have seen that more people have committed sins in the last 30 years, but strangely, polio has got eradicated. That means religion and disability actually have no relation, but we have an amazing ability to justify suffering, and therefore we go ahead and show this as one reason. One reason is medical. Now, for a long time in our country, the government didn't do a census on how many disabled people are there in our country. Why? Because to go ahead and ask a person in remote villages where the entire census happens in regional languages, you have to ask whether there is a person with mental disability in your house. Okay? Now, if you translate that to Hindi and ask, you have to ask, क्या आपके घर में पागल रहते हैं? Now, this is very offensive to some people. So, the government decided we should not ask such things. Okay? The problem is, we have not asked such things for 50 years and we don't know how many people exist. And when we don't know how many people exist, how do we actually solve a problem? So, that became a huge challenge. And regardless of how many other people I say, if I ask a poll of how many people are sensitive to people with disabilities, everybody will raise their hand here. But when I did the test, everybody fails. So you all know that these 3 disabilities exist, but the real disability is actually an infrastructural disability. Today I am educated, today I have my own money, I am rich, and yet I cannot climb a bus on my own. Yet I cannot climb a hotel, go to a hotel 3rd floor on my own. Why? Because it is the country's infrastructure that is getting disabled and it's not me. It's the country's civic architecture. Now what is happening? Because there is no good infrastructure, when a child with disability is born, his or her education gets affected. If it's a girl child, it's even worse. So when he or she becomes a person with disability, there is a huge gap in the kind of skills that company wants. So the company starts recruiting general category candidates, and then the people with disabilities get affected. So what happens when I go and ask them for a job? They go ahead and tell me that we need highly skilled people. If you can show me a person with skill, I will go ahead and recruit. Let us see what are the jokes that each player plays. 1. A person with disability. The number 1 requirement for a person with disability is job. Make it really, that's the honest truth. Keep creativity, ideas, everything aside. I need money when I am hungry. If I have to do it in a legal way, I am ready to do. If situations force me into an illegal way, that also I am ready to do. Unless people see that there are jobs for persons with disabilities, rural parents will not send their child with disabilities to school. So I have to find jobs for existing people so that people in the future start getting educated and start finding jobs. But the problem is the existing people are not educated by themselves. So what do? The real problem is that they do not have skills. They do not have skills because infrastructure affects their education. There is social stigma, there is limited interaction, and therefore there is very low, there is total absence of a skill training center. Now our government always has one solution for everything. Give quota. Whatever is the problem, give a quota. Now imagine I have to go to a college to get educated. There is 2 floors that I have to climb. The government tells me that because it is very difficult for you to climb 2 stairs, climb the 2 stairs but get 30% marks. This is how the government quota system works. They treat physical disability similar to a caste system. So what happens is now I have to climb 3 floors again and again. I have to climb buses and go to the college, and now government says if you get 60% or 70% intermediate, fine, you will still get a college seat in CBIT. The problem is, once I graduate from CBIT, the company doesn't give me a job. Unfortunately, the government doesn't recognize this. Now the government has another solution for this. If you employ a person with disability, I will give you tax break. Hey Baba, teach him skill. Okay, teach him how to make money. Then he will automatically make money, remove the quotas out. But they fail to address the basic problem, which is the skill training issue. There are many NGOs in the field that have identified this issue, but the problem is, you all know how our college teaching is. Okay, it is very difficult to remain awake for 45 minutes. Now I have to find instructors to train people with disabilities and find them jobs. So the problem for them is lack of quality instructors. And companies, there are 4 kinds of companies. Companies that will say, I will not employ people with disabilities. Companies that will say, I am exploring the possibility. Companies that will say, if I have the right candidate, I will recruit. And companies that will say, yes, I have recruited. These are my people. The problem is, 99.9% of companies fall in the first 3 categories. So what is happening in the existing system? The lack of skill is actually what is hitting everyone. Lack of skill is occurring because of infrastructure, but infrastructure takes time to build. So what do the 4 crore people who are disabled in India do right now? So that's where, if you see, on one side there is companies, on the other side there is government, NGOs, people with disabilities begging to give a job. Companies say, if you give me high skilled people, I will take. Now if you just look at it, if any system, if the company is ready to take, people are ready to learn, right? There are many electrical engineers here. Most of them would have gone for Java coaching, right? Yeah? Electrical engineering and Java, man. What is the relation? Company will take. That's the logic we are working on. Unfortunately, if you tell this, people will give you a lecture on passion, performance, do what you really want. Chal raha hai. What I really want is money to eat. Okay. Now, high willingness, high skilled employee, it's a magical system that has never happened in our country yet. High willingness, low skill, you can train. You can train those people into a job and employ. However, because there is no high willingness, highly skilled people get rejected, and that's called discrimination, so they get into newspapers. Then there are low willingness and low skilled, and it's a failing system. So, in order to overcome this, we thought, let's start with the disability first. Let's try and find out where is that disability can be employed. So far there have been 2 models. One is map a disability to a job and job to a disability. When you have to map a disability to a job, these are the magic that has happened. There is a hotel in Hyderabad called Dine in the Dark. I don't know if any of you all have been there, but it's a hotel that's completely dark. Completely, and it's run by visually challenged people. Why? And they do an excellent job of it. Why? Because they know how to move in dark. When you have to go inside the hotel, you are shocked. My friend was like, is it vegetarian or non-vegetarian? Where is the plate? How do I know for sure? And once they get into the hotel and come out, they are shocked for life. That's one of the most profit-making hotels in Hyderabad. There is also another one in KFC Bandara Hills. This is near a movie theater. Once, what happens is there are very few places in life where we can show off. Okay? So once a movie is done and we come out, what happens is we start to show off in the hotel. If there is 5 minutes delay, you start to show off as if you are an NRI. You will start saying, "Abey, enta save ra." Now this sort of people, when they get into the KFC and they can't pay money and they can't wait, and when you give them a feedback form on performance, you know what they will write? Nice words in Hyderabadi language. Okay, so what happens is, at that position, when we started employing a person who can't hear, this person automatically shows sympathy. Automatically. Because his girlfriend would be there. Now if he is shouting on a person with disability, in future he may shout on her. Relationship problem. And you know what he does? In the same hotel, he says, "Take your own time, boss. Apna to puri zindagi padi hai. No problems at all." That's one of the most profit-making franchises in Bandara, Hyderabad. There is another problem. If you thought physical disability was severe, mental disability is hell. Okay, because they keep saying the same things again and again, keep doing the same things again and again. What do? We go ahead, spend one day with them, give them chocolate, biscuit, take photos with them, post it on Facebook, and so I am good-hearted. Okay, but unfortunately that doesn't solve the problem. So what we did was, we did a dance show where people with mental disabilities dance. सब लोग पागलों की तरह नाचते हैं, यहाँ पे पागल नाच रहे हैं. Okay? And when they danced, the money that was raised out of it was used to buy a paper recycling machine, a paper cup machine. An organization was started where paper cups were produced. These paper cups were produced by people with mental disabilities. Sell it to corporate. Marketing का बंदा है यहाँ पे. He will know that they will start buying immediately. Why? Because they have some sympathy. Now they are making more profit. They are earning 20,000 rupees per month, which is equivalent to what a software engineer gets in high-tech city these days. So just by producing paper cups, by the way. So there are multiple jobs that we started generating when we started mapping disability to a job. Now this got media attention, various awards, fetched me some awards. So now all of a sudden companies want to jump in. They will go ahead and start identifying and saying, we also want people with disabilities. Okay, there are many jobs available in our company also, let us know. So we started identifying lead players, we started identifying jobs that are suitable for them. We came up with a list of jobs that are suitable and we submitted a report, because of which 13,500 jobs have been generated and so many people have been able to find a happy family life in their life. And is that the end of it? No. Why? The real problem still exists. As long as our country's infrastructure doesn't improve, people with disabilities will continue to receive an unequal education and unfair education that tests their physical capability rather than mental ability, and these people will feel separated and locked out in terms of skills, and we need to integrate them faster into the society, because if 4% of our country is unemployed, our country will always be on the unemployment records. So if we have to integrate them, we have to start acting right now. Unfortunately, when we go ahead and say such things in front of government, what happens is they say we need time, but the time to do the right thing is always right now. Is it possible in India? Well, long back there was one guy who was starting the schools. Long back there was one guy who couldn't get on a staircase, who was also worried about finding jobs, who wondered whether he will be integrated into part of the society. That guy is standing in front of you all today. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. Please reject disability, not a person with it.